Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sorry We're Closed podcast. I am your host, Mr. Patrick James Light, and we got a great show for you today. I doubt in the history of the podcast, however long we end up doing this for, I will ever tell you that we have a shit show waiting for you today and a show that's going to be horrible. But today's a great show. Today is a tremendous show. My producer told me that I really enjoy the word tremendous, and that's true. Our president, Donald Trump, uses it quite frequently. I feel like he's made me use it more. I feel like I see a lot of people make fun of him for using the word tremendous because he uses it quite often. And I don't know, grew on me. I like the word. But we had a great show. We actually filmed this. I filmed it, recorded it last night. The microphone was turned up to full volume, and the quality was not spectacular. So I am doing it again this morning, Monday morning. I am recording this, which means that we are officially in the week of baseball. We have an exciting week. I know Tuesday, Wednesday, we got the Red Sox and Blue Jays playing spring training games or summer camp games. And then Thursday, opening day, Red Sox aren't playing that day, but they're playing Friday against the Orioles. Nathan Eovaldi on the mound. Exciting week. I mean, this is about as exciting as it gets. Finally going to get some baseball. And hopefully it goes off without a hitch. Hopefully we have a tremendous season, 60-game season. We're at the trade deadline pretty much with a tie for the divisions in all divisions. Every single team tied for the division lead, which is unique to baseball. That's never happened in baseball. So I think we're in for a great season and something we've never seen before. I know a lot of people talk about how this is kind of it's almost like an asterisk if you win this season. I mean, I think this is a tougher season to win. You have no leeway. You can't start off slow. You have to get off to a hot start. You have to play well for the first 2 months of baseball because it's the only 2 months of baseball. And I think this is unlike any other season we've ever been a part of, obviously. And I think it will show great mental ability, mental strength, and physical ability, obviously, for the team who ends up coming out on top of this year. So I think if there might be an asterisk on this year to show that this is probably tougher to win the World Series this year than it is in most. Exciting year. I'm excited for it. Any team could come out on top. And we'll see what happens. Start the season off Thursday, opening day. And it should be a fun weekend. But in other news, and what I'm here to talk about today is a guy who has made a comeback to baseball and did it by going through something that I personally went through myself in my career. And it's what ended my career. And he's able to do it. He's able to go through it for a more extended period of time and be able to come out on top and back in baseball, back in Major League Baseball. And that is Daniel Bard. The guy is a dear, dear friend of mine. And by dear friend, I mean I haven't spoken to him since 2013. But I have a few things I wanted to share about the guy, just so you guys have a little more insight into the type of person he is. And then, we're off. We're off to the week of baseball. So here we go. Let's get into it. It was 2013. I was in the clubhouse in Boston, not because I was in the major leagues, but because I had torn my hamstring, and I was there to get my MRI read by the team doctors. And Daniel had just been sent down, so he was being sent out of the clubhouse and down to the spring training complex in Fort Myers, Florida, because he had control issues, whatever the case may be. He's going down there to figure stuff out for him. I remember him walking out of the clubhouse and telling guys, it's going to be short. I'll be back. Don't worry. He wouldn't come back. But I would go to Fort Myers to rehab my torn hamstring. it was a tough summer for me. I had some things going on personally that, wasn't great. And tough timing, and then I had my torn hamstring in my professional career, and that was tough because my first full season of professional sports, and I've never been an injury guy, and all of a sudden now I have a major injury, and it was just an interesting summer. But I'm in Fort Myers, and when you're a rehab guy, you're on a different side. So there's when you're in Boston or in Fort Myers, but Boston Spring Training Complex, you walk into the weight room, and if you go right, you're in the minor league side. If you go left, you're in the big league side, right? Because big leaguers aren't there during the summer, rehab guys go left because they are, they just give a separate area for the guys who are in rehab. So if you're a minor league rehab guy, you oftentimes rehab with, if there's a big leaguer down there. And for a young guy, especially a guy who just got drafted the year before, not a lot of interaction with big leaguers, this was pretty cool. So you get in there, you kind of treat it a little bit differently. And now you go in and it's, I'm sitting there and I'm rehabbing with, in what in my opinion was one of the better relievers in baseball. I mean, yeah, granted he's having control issues, wasn't quite figuring it out. They had a stint with being a starter and whatnot and all that, and things were kind of going haywire for him, but I still viewed him as one of the best relievers in baseball. So, Daniel, we do our stuff together. We were throwing partners, which was the whole thing. And we became friendly, I was, we had similar personalities, similar, he's a little more laid back than I am, but similar interests. And when you do stuff, you get the facility around like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. You're done as rehab by 10 or 11. Like, it really isn't. You get 4 hours worth of stuff to do, and then there's not much else you can do. So we played golf. Once my hamstring I only had mental stuff going on. I had my torn hamstring. So once my torn hamstring was, I got the A-OK from Boston to go play golf, obviously I'm going to play golf. So we do it quite often. Keep in mind, this is a guy who can't throw a strike right now. And it wasn't the worst. I think it probably got worse, in 2015, 16, maybe even 17. I don't know when he really started bouncing back here, but I remember hearing stories when he was trying to bounce back. He was in short season ball when I was in AAA in the big leagues. And, I heard rumors of him like walking 5 guys in a row and stuff like that, which I don't think I ever watched 5 in a row. I don't know if I got to that, but that's only because I was pulled beforehand. So regardless, right? So we're golfing one day, and that was something I always looked forward to because, whatever reason, I think Yuengling is the name popping in my head. I think we'd get some Yuenglings, and we maybe like a 6-pack, and we'd probably split between the two of us. Neither of us were very big beer drinkers. But we get on the golf course, play 18, 36 holes. I don't think we ever played 36, but we played 18 holes, put a speaker in the back of the golf cart, and you just, hang out. Neither of us really cared if we played well. We just were there to do it. And so we're on, I don't know what number hole, but we're on some hole. And if you've ever been golfing in Florida, specifically South Florida, you know that you come across gators quite often, the alligators quite often in the ponds or whatever on the golf courses. So there's one, and if you've also golfed in Florida, that you pretty much, when they're out in the water, you really only see the top of their head. You don't really see the rest of their body. So we're golfing, and I see, we both, notice it. And we're like, oh, shit, there's a gator right there, like whatever. And Bardo goes, all right, and takes his golf ball. Guy who has tremendous control issues takes his golf ball, much smaller golf ball than a baseball. The golf ball is much smaller. Takes the golf ball, throws it into the lake. The guy's about 30 yards out, I'd say, 20, 30 yards out. Super small target. Plunks him straight in the head. And I'm saying, like, well, what the hell? Like, you can do that, but you can't throw a strike. And now keep in mind, this is an ignorant 22-year-old kid. I am. I'm talking about myself here. Ignorant 22-year-old kid. No real never had control issue in my life. Like, I was at that time, my biggest issue was getting smoked around the field. Wasn't that I wasn't, throwing strikes. I think I walked in my college career. I think my last year, I threw like 100 innings and I walked like 12 people. Like, I didn't walk people. That wasn't my thing. So got that going, whatever, hit the guy. I'm mind blown. Like, what's the difference, man? Like, this is actually a way tougher throw than throwing to a spot on a wall, essentially, or a catcher. Like, you have no real depth perception. It's a tough depth perception. You have to land it. You have to come back down. It's not like you're just throwing it straight and you can hit a spot. You have to get coming back down. It's a mind blowing concept, and he just couldn't believe that he was able to do this. Now, granted, I would later go through this in my career. I now understand it, but then I didn't. So now I'm got this guy, being able to hit gators in the head in the golf course, but can't throw a strike in the big leagues. So I remember after one of my starts, my rehab starts, you do this thing. I forget what they call it, but you have like a hot tub and a cold tub, and you go like 1 minute in, 1 minute in, 1 minute in the hot tub, 1 minute in the cold tub, 1 minute in the hot tub, and you just keep going back and forth for maybe 5 minutes, 6 minutes, right? So we're doing that, and Bardo came in and was like, how'd your start go? We talked about my start. I don't even remember if it went well or not. I'm sure it did if I was talking, but so I go to him. Like, now I'm comfortable enough with him now. I've hung out with him now for probably a month or 2 months, so I'm comfortable enough. So I go, Bardo, I gotta ask, what happened? Like, from my perspective, you have like the best one of the best relievers in baseball. It's probably an argument to be made that he was the best reliever in baseball. I think Mariano was still playing, so probably not. But best reliever in baseball. What happened? And so he tells me this story about while he was playing in Boston, they made him a starter. They had these things, these statistics. And this is why, if you ever talk to me, I'm a very anti putting non-baseball people in the front offices. I don't like, as players, you always call them nerds, right? You got these nerds up there telling us how to play a game they never played, or that they never played at this level, and just going off the numbers. Listen, your data is being taken from how we play the game, and now you're using this data to change how we play the game. If you use the data from how we like to play the game, and change how we play, the data is now going to be different. But I digress. Let's not. I'm not going to get into that. Well, that's another podcast. But so they told him that his numbers, I want to say, against lefties was way worse than it was against righties. So what they had him do is, I can't remember which side was which. It's been 7 years now, but they had him going back and forth from each side of the rubber, depending on who was hitting. Righty, let's say he's a righty, right side, lefty, left side. So he was going back and forth. Now, I understand that we're professional athletes. We should be able to throw the ball no matter where we are, but there's risk involved here. You have a guy that plays, has certain release. They talk about baseball being a game of inches, right? So you have a guy who knows his release points, knows these things that his body knows exactly how to do, and now you have him changing it daily, or not daily. What would I say? You have the guy changing it hitter by hitter. Maybe there are definitely guys in the big leagues that can do that. But there is a little bit of a risk going into that maybe this guy might not be able to. But I would never have done it. But they asked Daniel to do it. Bardo, being the great guy that he is, does it, tries it, and that's where the snowball apparently started. Now, I asked Daniel, I go, dude, that's horseshit. Now, like, why would they ever ask someone to do that? If I'm a manager on the other team and I know he's doing this, which, the managers know what color shoelaces you like to wear on certain days. They know everything about the opposing starter. So if I know he's doing this, if I have the right guys, obviously I'm not going to just ruin my lineup to do this, but if I have the right lineup, I'm just going to go lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty the entire time. I'm going to never let you feel comfortable. I'm always going to be making you move because that's just, it's smart. So I tell him, let's do that's horseshit, man. Like, why would they do that to you? You were a phenomenal pitcher. You eat the lefties. Like, they hit a little bit better off you. That's not natural for everyone. Let's let that happen. Let's try to maybe mix in a pitch. Maybe you can add a changeup or something that makes it a little bit of a wrinkle for these guys. But, typically that's a good sign that he should be a reliever. And he can't go through lineups multiple times if he's having troubles against a particular set of hitters. Leave him in his position. But they want him to be a starter. So I tell him that. It's horseshit, man. Blah, 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 blah. The whole routine. He goes very unexpectedly. I'm defending this guy. Unexpectedly, he defends Boston. He goes, no, man, that's bullshit. I should be able to throw a ball to the target no matter where I'm at on the rubber at any given time. Because when you're a kid throwing a baseball, you don't think about your release point. You don't think about weight back. You don't think about any of that stuff. You see the catcher wants the ball there. Typically in Little League, they want it down the middle every time. You see the catcher wants the ball there, and you take the ball and you throw it. And now we're now professionals, and we make this harder than you think. Then it makes you. We make it harder than it has to be. And again, I went through as my career. My biggest thing. You think about the yips. Everyone talks about the yips, right? The yips. You never see the yips in Little League. So you guys can't throw. They're not talented. But you don't see the yips. You don't see the yips really in high school. But that'd probably be the first place you see it. You see the yips a lot more in college. You see the yips a lot more in minor league baseball. And you see it sometimes in the big leagues. You see when people get pushed to the brink of a ton of pressure on them. And, it's too much, analysis into the game and what you're doing. You're throwing a ball to a target. Just do it. And that's what it went back to was you took away the analysis. You took away the pressure on that golf course that day. It was, I'm just throwing this golf ball at that alligator. And he went immediately back to, one of the best relievers in baseball. He was able to do it without a problem. It was 1 for 1. It was remarkable. And this is what we see in baseball. And obviously some of it's the player's fault. Sometimes it's the front office's fault, a lot of times. So you have a lot of guys that say the front office is going to apply this pressure. If you can't handle it, you probably shouldn't be a big leaguer anyway. There's an argument for that as well, for sure. But it changed my perception on how all of this went down and how Bardo, was such ahead of the game in my head. Because again, I would eventually go through this. And, I wanted to blame everyone in the book for why I had control issues, but myself. And of course, if I didn't run into this certain coach or if I didn't do this, maybe things would have turned out differently for me. But if I had just kept the game simple, no matter what I was doing, I was just like, well, I'm just going to throw the ball to the target. None of that outside stuff would have ever mattered. And I think this is what led, Daniel to be able to go on a 7-year journey of shit. He went through a lot of crap to get to where he is right now. And then he got to it. Now he's back on a major league roster. I never thought that would happen. It's one of the most amazing accomplishments. As a guy, again, who went through this himself, I understand how much pressure. I went through it I started in 2015 when I first got to AAA. 2015, 16, 17, I retired in 18. Let's say 3 full years. He went through it for 7. And now is back in the Major League Ball Club. I actually think if you told me in 15 that you'd be back in the big leagues if you just stuck it out to 2022, I still probably say no. as a grind. I don't want to do that. It's embarrassing. I hate it. I didn't enjoy playing anymore. It's horrible. So I know that what this guy went through at a greater scale than I did, double the scale that I did, was such an unbelievable accomplishment. And I couldn't be happier to see him back in Major League Baseball. Other than the Red Sox this year, I'm 1,000% rooting for the Rockies because I want to see that guy succeed. I want to see that guy bounce back. And not that I want to see, him leave Colorado or anything, but it'd be pretty cool to have that guy back in Fenway. After the journey he went through, if he doesn't get a standing ovation as he's running out of that bullpen, I don't know who deserves one. If there was an ESPY, if the ESPYs were going on this year and there was comeback player of the year, that guy better get it. So those are my 2 Bardo stories. I love the guy. I haven't spoken to him again since 2013 or 14. But the guy is an amazing person. He's extremely nice. Took a young guy at the time, myself, a young Pat Light under his wing a little bit and coached him through some stuff. But a great human being. Couldn't be happier that he's back in baseball. And it's going to be, in my view, it's the best story surrounding baseball right now. And I literally cannot wait to watch the Rockies in hopes to see this guy pitch. So, again, baseball's back this week, guys. We got the Red Sox and Orioles squaring off, and then we go right into the Mets in the weekend. And that's 7 games. I think it's 3 against the Orioles, 4 against the Mets. We're going to need to take 5 of those games, as I'm sure most of my fans are Red Sox. Most of my people listening are Red Sox fans. Red Sox need to take 5 of those before they go to the Bronx next weekend. So, but baseball's back, guys. Exciting times. I'll be back on. You'll get another podcast on Thursday, and that will be opening day. Can't wait. And we will see you guys then. I will definitely have a drink on my hand for that podcast as, again, opening day. Folks, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe to my Instagram. Go follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter. Do all of those good things. And I appreciate you guys. And I will see you guys Thursday.